Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Friday, January the 30th, 2026. The U.S. stock market has officially been closed for all of 2 or 3 minutes, maybe, not even quite 3 full minutes, I think. Um, it has been just a weird day. It's tempting to say it's been an interesting day. I sometimes say that a little more frequently than I should, and it gets boring probably for you to hear. It was a weird day. After yesterday's sell off in the with some not so great. Not as good a earnings information as some people wanted. Although, yesterday after being down really far, the S&P and the Dow, I think, managed. The Dow actually finished in positive territory yesterday. It climbed way up from its low point of the day today. Nasdaq didn't fare so well. It rebounded yesterday from its lowest point of the day, not quite as well as what we saw in the S&P and the Dow. But today it managed to come well up off of its low of the session, but didn't get nearly the bounce towards the end of the day that a lot of people, myself included, would have liked. However, I believe the S&P managed to finish the month in positive territory. In other words, a bullish month for the S&P. In fact, let's go look right here really quickly. Oops, I clicked the Nasdaq. Let me look at the S&P first. If we look at our 1 month chart on the S&P, you can see here that it did in fact finish in the green for the month. This is where it started the month. This is where it ended the month. Got a lot of squirreliness going on right there in the middle of the month, but it managed to rebound and finish slightly positive on the month. I'm thinking, and I want to look real quick. I'm thinking that the Nasdaq actually did not finish positive on the month. But let me check that before I say that definitively. I guess barely. A similar pattern, but a bigger sell off over the last couple of days. So the Nasdaq, technically speaking, it did finish positive on the month, about that much on the 1 month chart. That's about how much it was up on your 1 month chart, but barely. I mean, barely finishing in the green. Better than finishing in the red. For all intents and purposes, we'll take a bullish month ahead of a bearish month every single month. The Dow definitely did a little bit better because it had a little bit bigger surge right at the beginning of the month. But today was just, it was weird. Things bounced back and forth a lot. I don't know that there was a really good reason for the markets to be selling off today, other than a little bit more concern about software companies and tech companies. And then the announcement of Kevin Warsh, just before I came on to record this podcast, Liz Clayman had on someone, I'm forgetting the guy's name, forgive me, but he was trying to give, he's an asset manager. He was trying to give his take on why the market was bearish like it was today. And he was saying that there's some confusion over this formal announcement of Kevin Warsh being the next Fed chair. And he's saying that, a few months back, Kevin Warsh was very hawkish on inflation and talking about, we don't need to have interest rates cut because there's still some fear of some inflation. And now all of a sudden, Trump is naming him after Trump being very vocal about the need to cut rates and how disappointed he is that Powell continues to not do that. So this guy's claim was that there is kind of a mixed message. I don't remember what Kevin Warsh said 6 months ago or a year ago. I know that Kevin Warsh is close enough to the president that he's on board with what the president thinks should be happening. I think Kevin Warsh will keep a little bit more independence than Kevin Hassett would have. I would have been okay with either one of those picks. But this guy, no offense, I don't know who the guy is, and he's not someone I've seen before. If I have seen him, he was not memorable enough for me to remember who he is. But whoever this guy was that was saying that's the reason the markets are down, he's blowing smoke out of his rear end. But the markets are down today because we had a lousy PPI number that was higher than what people were expecting. It was a PPI final number that was supposed to be released back in the middle of January and didn't get released today. That number was high and gave a little bit of an inflation spook. And it's the last trading day of the month, and it's not uncommon at all, especially with a little bit of momentum carrying over from yesterday. It's not uncommon at all to see the last day of the month be, even on a really good month, to be a little bit bearish. Brokers and money managers repositioning a little bit, and I didn't like the squirreliness, how much of a movement there was from the best part of the day to the worst part of the day, um, and back and forth. I didn't love seeing that. If we look, and I think the Dow is probably the best example because I know at one point in time today the Dow was down over 400 points. I don't like it. Really ended the day pretty close to where it started the day, which was to the downside. But at one point in time, it was down over 400 points at one point in time. And I don't like that. I don't like seeing big a back and forth move. You know, a third of a percent is not that big a deal. It's not anything to get panicked over. So I'm not overly concerned about that. The Nasdaq, it also had some big fluctuations, but it started out much worse today. Um, I think it dipped a little bit faster on the day, and well, I take that back. I guess the it was gradual sell off on the day. It tried a couple of times to make a recovery, but just couldn't make quite the same recovery as the Dow and the S&P. So got a little more beat up than the other two indexes. But again, I don't think you should put too much weight in it. I think Monday you're going to see things move bullish. Earnings have been mostly good. I think one really good thing that happened today was Apple. It started the day selling off in spite of the fact that they had what was I think a pretty phenomenal earnings report. The earnings report was a little bit mixed because some of Apple's segments were missing the expectations a little bit, but the top and bottom line didn't just beat, they beat by a lot. And Apple just really reported what I thought was a phenomenal quarter. They were up a lot after market yesterday, and then this morning they took off to the downside. They had a brief recovery, and then they were down and they were in negative territory for the better portion of the day. But they managed to go positive, and even at one point in time got pretty positive. They went all the way up to I think they were up $3 or more a share, and over. I think the highest point Apple got today. I think this chart is a little bit off. Let me refresh this. I think the highest Apple got today, yeah, the 260, 261, almost 262. Then in the last 10 minutes of trading, they really slid hard, and they ended up finishing the day just barely below 260. I was so hopeful they would finish the day above 260, but they got a lot closer to it than where they spent the majority of the day. And they're up a little bit more aftermarket, back over that 260. Um, in the closing 5 to 10 minutes of the market, I saw our Apple trade go positive by as much as 10%. But then it went back to where I think right at the close it was break even or even a little bit negative. I think Apple will be up on Monday. I think it's a really good sign that the second half of the trading day saw this kind of a move for Apple. I think that's a very good sign. I think what happened this morning is the pessimists were flushed out in the first half of trading today, and there's nothing to be pessimistic about with Apple's earnings. They're in great shape as a company, and I think ending the day on Monday over 260 is going to be easy for them. Now, with that said, I'll be watching very close on Monday, and if the early, pre-market is not positive, or the early first 30 minutes to maybe hour of trading on Monday for Apple specifically is not positive, we'll adjust or maybe just roll the whole trade out or make some kind of an adjustment that will put us in better position. But I actually think Apple will. I mean, what's happening right now in aftermarket trading means nothing when you've got the entire weekend between now and the next time the markets will trade. But if we're leaning towards the upside on Monday morning, I think we're going to be in great shape on Apple. On a good note, I was able to close Palantir today, and I had this all over Discord, so hopefully you did the same thing. I was able to take about, um, I want to say on the spread trade that we have on Palantir, almost a 10%. I ended up at 8.3% on Palantir. I'm not sure why that. Oh, I know why that target return says that because I was looking yesterday at what we originally targeted, I think 15%. I was looking at where we needed to be to see a 7 or 8%, but end up getting out of Palantir at 8.5%. I'm happy with that because Palantir is down so far below our long and short put strike prices that if they had a really stellar earnings report after the market on Monday, and I do think their numbers are going to be very positive and very impressive. I don't know if it'll be enough to move them up past where our long call and short call strikes were. So that was my concern with Palantir and why I wanted to get out. I may try on Monday morning to open a new trade on Palantir. I was looking at some numbers before the market closed and just didn't see anything that I liked. But I'm going to look again on Monday morning and see if I don't want to open another trade on Palantir for their earnings specifically. Um, I don't want to make this a long presentation today. The only other thing I'll mention right now is we've got a full slate of earnings next week. Monday, starting Monday after the market closes, Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning. There is just a lot going on with earnings, and we're going to have a lot of opportunity next week. I might do on the triple play side of thing. We've got Amazon, AMD, Alphabet, Supermicro, Robinhood. These are all trades these are all companies that we've traded before and done so with a fair amount of success. So there's Palantir on Monday after the close. On Tuesday before the markets open, you've got PayPal, you've got Pfizer, you've got I thought there was one other on Tuesday morning, but Tuesday after the bell, that's going to be a big day. AMD, Supermicro, Chipotle. We've traded Chipotle. It's been a while back. We've traded them before. So you've got that going on Tuesday afternoon. Then on Wednesday, you've got Uber, you've got Eli Lilly, and then I believe it's Wednesday afternoon is you've got Google, Snap. Why am I not remembering where Amazon is in that mix? I thought it was in the earlier part of the week. Just forgetting. Thursday after the close, Amazon. We might do a trade on Amazon, but one that would expire the following week, not a Friday expiration. So we've got a lot of good things. Now, in the case of Amazon, we're going to make an adjustment to our open bull call calendar on Amazon. Right now, all it is long calls. We're going to add a short call to that at the beginning of the week, and we're going to do a nearer term long put or bear put to protect us from a slide. Amazon's been beat up a little bit the last couple of days. Honestly, I think it's kind of a nothing burger. I'm not worried about Amazon. I think I would put it in one of my top two or three stocks in terms of expectation for the year. I really think that highly of Amazon as we move forward. So been beat up for a few days in a row, but I'm not worried about Amazon. I think they're going to be a fantastic company this year. So we'll make an adjustment to that. Also, as we get a little bit closer to their earnings, that'll be later in February. We'll do the same thing for Nvidia and Walmart. So it's going to be an exciting week next week. This has been a good week overall in terms of the success we've had with trades. Palantir, Boeing, uh, IBM is looking good. A little bit of pullback on IBM today, but they're looking good. Apple looking good by the end of the day. Netflix was really the only bummer this week. I bailed out of Netflix with a little bit of a loss, but overall on the triple play stuff, we're looking fantastic. We're 11.5% there. Our regular spread trade stuff, we're still up 26% in spite of Nvidia and Amazon getting beat up a little bit this week. CoreWeave has taken a major hit, but we're still profitable on that because of the type of position that we've had. So, and then out of Palantir, I will now officially put this in the column of another profitable trade or traded as such. So good week overall for us, even though the week ended a little bit negative with the indexes. We had a good week and I'm excited about it. And I'm going to wrap up right there. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here at the regular time on Monday. Thanks. Bye-bye.